Hey y'all, hope you're doing good today. So I just wanted to pop by and share what's been on my mind and heart the past couple days. I shared with y'all my last message, we lost our dog, and it's been, obviously we loved her and it was hard, but also it's like it can change your routine. And so that's what's happened with me. And like right now, typically if she was there, I'd be home. I'd be home with her because I'd be like, I know she's waiting on me and all this stuff. But at the moment, and I don't have my daughter with me and all, so it's like I have the option of being home or not. And I think sometimes a change of environment is good for us, even if it's not grand and exciting or whatnot, like a vacation or whatever. Just going out and getting coffee and just like right now I'm in a parking lot but I appreciate that I can see the sky really good from here. It's beautiful, it's overcast, lots of clouds, and I'm looking at the trees, and there's a nice breeze today. So I think that a change of environment is good for us, but what's on my mind and heart is that when you are on your journey, I think it's natural to want to walk the path, so to speak, with others, because we're just hardwired to want to be together, with our people. And when you've had when you've had your whole world just torn apart, through tragedy, through divorce, through any kind of drama or trauma, anything like that, you can find yourself, walking the path alone at times, which at times feels amazing and wonderful and restorative. And you got lots of time to rest and think about things, and a lot of times that's when you can really make some big breakthroughs, because you're able to think clearly without another person influencing you. And so but at some point I think we want to share our experience again, because it's just natural. So I want to talk about that, about sharing what we've been through, our experience, or even if we're not going to detail out what we've been through, just sharing where we are in the present moment, our mindset. It's kind of like we've come into a new place in this reality. The world is kind of new all over again. And so if that hasn't been shared with another and explored with another, then I think that's the natural inclination that we have. And so I'm going to liken this metaphorically to driving down the road, okay? This has been my experience. So as you are, you've shifted into your new gear, so to speak, okay? As you are in this new perspective, and you're trying to relate to others, because that's where connection happens, is when you can relate on some things. It doesn't have to be everything, but just some things. You can make those connection points. The problem that we're going to run up against is that everybody's in their own vehicle, okay? So like I am in my Jeep, and somebody else might be riding in a Cadillac, and the ride is going to be totally different for both of us. And so we're trying to communicate and relate to one another, and we're on the same road, but yet our experience is totally different. And that's what we have to work with. And I think sometimes we forget that, because our cars or trucks or vehicles, whatever it is that we're riding in, they're invisible, okay? So, but what that stands for is our paradigms, okay? Our beliefs, our experiences, our past experiences, everything that has shaped us into who we are today. And so we can tend to forget that we're driving different vehicles. And we can get really frustrated with one another. Like, why can't you see where I'm coming from? We can feel minimized and gaslit even. Even if the person doesn't mean for that to happen. We can feel dismissed or patronized or all this stuff. And we can unintentionally, I think, make others feel the same way too, in our attempts to try to relate to one another. And so when you have especially gone through, I want to say unique experiences, but truly everyone's experiences and combination of particular experiences is unique. Every single person's is unique. It's not like you are a standalone, unique, collection of all these things. We all are unique in our own way, okay? And so the problem with this is just that. And our desire is to make that connection. And if I wanted to play devil's advocate here, I would say, well, then why is it so important anyway? If you're going to self-reflect, well, then why is it important anyway to have someone validate your experiences? If you've lived them and you know what you know, and it's firsthand experience and all this stuff, right? And maybe some of your paradigms are also made up of a lot of research and, your efforts, time spent, in academics or whatever it is you give credence to, okay? All this stuff adds up to create your paradigms, your beliefs, your mode of operation. It's kind of like, why is it so important to have someone validate that, right? I'm playing devil's advocate. But the reason why, it's kind of like you have to look at those driving factors. What's driving your vehicle, okay? And again, it's kind of like, imagine you're on a long road trip and you're content. Maybe you like your car. Maybe you're jamming out to some tunes, and maybe you got, if you got a convertible, maybe you got the top back and you're just happy and it's perfect temperature or whatever it is. After a while, if you're on that road, and you realize you haven't passed any other cars, or there haven't been any other cars for a long time, it can kind of start to feel a little uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And I think that this is what helps me, y'all. I like to visualize to make sense of things and look at things metaphorically. But I think that it's just human nature to want reality to mirror back to you to some degree. I'm not talking about like needing it, like needing that confirmation bias or whatever it is, but I think it's just human nature to want to see. It's kind of like maybe our subconscious performs these automatic checks, along the way to make sure, like your tire pressure, like, is everything good? Is everything still good? And I think that's a mark of a healthy person, to want to see your beliefs mirrored back to you. Because if not, then maybe we have to shift gears. Maybe we have to adjust, But the point here that I'm getting at, trying to get at, is that if you're not careful, if your particular new set of experiences and everything that makes up who you are now, if it's kind of new still, it may be a little bit more unique than what you would like. Or you may perceive all this as being more unique than, what a lot of other people have been through. And what makes this hard is vulnerability and being willing to open up to others, to even see if you can relate, because what we're talking about is being shaped by both good and bad experiences, okay? But if your most recent season has been one of evil and darkness and shock and dismay and all this stuff, then it can kind of affect your ability to be able to connect with others in a lot of different ways. First of all, it's kind of like you're carrying your experience with you now, and if you can see that there are others who maybe they, per your just initial observation, if you can kind of, maybe there's just signs, you know, in your observation of these people that you can glean a little bit of insight from, and you start to think, well, it doesn't look like they have been touched by darkness quite to the intensity that I have most recently. Or maybe it's not the same, or whatever. Okay, so again, I think our subconscious is constantly performing checks. Okay, and I think that's just a survival thing that we do automatically, unknowingly. You don't want to, when you're doing this and you feel this, it's like you want to share, you want to connect, but something holds you back. Part of that can be that you don't want to share any of that darkness with them, even though that's been maybe 80, 90 or more % of what has made up your most recent season. And so, and yet trying to dig through all that to find, you know, the highlights, right? The good points, because there's always good mixed in, right? Any season of our life. It feels like you're betraying yourself if you're like, well, I don't want to connect with these people through darkness. It just doesn't feel right. Then you're like, I want to connect with them through the light. Okay? But again, you're having to dig through, because what's forefront in your mind is the darkness still. So when you're having to dig through and find those points of light, it feels sort of like you're betraying yourself. Because that's not what's in the forefront of your mind and heart. So what winds up happening is you don't do it. You just don't reach out and connect. And yet you have a longing to do so. That's where I think that, and this may be new for you if you've never done this, but I think that finding, you know, groups of people who intentionally connect, you know, have regular meetups, you know, online, on the phone, whatever it is, to share their pain with one another and go through processing together. I think that can be really, really helpful. Really helpful. And I think that, and when I find out more about all this, I'll share with you all. This is new for me. Okay. But, I just want to encourage you that if you've always been an introvert like me, this may be hard too, but that's an option. It's an option for you to find people, because, you know, when it comes down to it, even though you have a unique set of experiences and stuff, going through hard stuff is not unique. Everybody at some point in their life is going to go through really, really hard stuff. And so even though it feels like you're alone, you're not. And I think it's important to remind each other of this, because it is life-saving. And it's faith-saving and everything else. But that's part of it. I think what holds you back is you don't want to, you know, you're looking at people who maybe they've moved beyond that season, or they haven't reached that season yet, and so you're sensing that the light is more prominent in their mind and heart than in yours at the moment. Darkness just feels like a cloud in your life, right? And so you don't want to spill that over onto them. This is really a time of needing to be strong for yourself too, because people who don't know your story can misperceive how you are with all this stuff, like you're super reserved and all this, and they can misperceive it in a way that they can kind of accuse you of being selfish with your time, arrogant, whatever it is, because they can sense that you're not reaching out and connecting. So you have to be really strong in yourself, and that's a challenge. People can try to rush you and not understand that you're trying to heal properly, and they can try to rush you through that process. And I just don't think that's good. For sure, that's not good. So just like you don't want somebody riding with you down the road telling you to push down on the gas pedal and go faster than what you're comfortable with, same thing. So, to go back to our metaphor, right? But I think that instead of denying what's really in the forefront of our mind and heart, denying the darkness, I think that once we validated ourselves in some way, and sometimes it is sharing it in an appropriate place, then it's sort of like it lightens the load. I don't think that we're meant to carry that with us day in and day out. I really don't. Think about the load on a vehicle. It can wear down the tires. If it's too bad, it can really wear down all the workings of the vehicle. If it's just a massive, heavy load that, like say, a truck or whatever is carrying, you can't keep going like that. So you have to have an outlet. Okay, I've shared with y'all that I've picked back up my art lately, and I think that if you look back in history, a lot of the people who have been very creative have struggled. If you know their stories, they've been through some stuff, some hard stuff. And I think that, it's not just pain and darkness that can be a driving factor, but, happiness too. When you feel very fulfilled, it's like that overflows as well, both in your art or in giving back to your community or whatever it is. It wants to flow out too. And so I'm getting to the heart of the message, which is whatever's inside of you. And I know there's this old saying, and I can't recall it right in this moment what it is, but whatever's inside of you is wanting to flow, and that's the life force within you. It's just a matter of the particular lens or perspective. Whatever's forefront in your mind and heart at any particular time is the way it's going to pour out. And so it's simply our job. It's not our job to judge ourselves or others, because we all want to relate to one another, to connect, to share. We all want that. And it doesn't necessarily mean, for some people it does, but a lot of times it doesn't indicate that a person is needy or that they just have to have validation or they're attention seeking or anything like that. It's just an innate thing. And if you look back, on all these philosophies throughout time, through the ages or whatnot, all different cultures and all the, fairy tales and the stories and everything, life is related to water. And it's because of the nature of it. It's flowing. I'm trying to remember something I just looked up here. And I can't, because it was the perfect thing to share in my Latin English dictionary here. I'm trying to be less dependent on online resources and kind of go back to old school books and stuff like that. Because you never know when the internet's going to be down. And if I can find it, I'll drop it in the description because I can't remember what it was. But life in general is related to change, to changing, shifting, and flowing. And That's what it's all about, right? And so I've talked before about the nature of decay, the spirit of decay, which is like a stoppage or a blockage, which is from, in my perspective, the dark side, the devil, right? Wanting to stop this flow. So, in this world where everything sometimes can get all twisted and spun upside down, what is reflected back to you a lot of times, mirrored back to you, is not accurate. So anytime you start to feel self-condemnation, shame or guilt, or all these bad kind of things, because you have this, again, it's like a innate feeling inside of you for something to flow, right? I'm just asking you not to judge yourself, because all that's going to do is compound on top of everything else you're dealing with. If you find the right people, then they're going to understand, and that to me is a big part of the healing process. In other words, you're driving a big truck with mud tires and you're trying to share what it's like going down a particular road, riding in that vehicle with someone who is going down the same road or has gone down the same road, but they drove a Cadillac and it's just a real smooth ride, quiet ride. You're not even going to be able to relate to one another. You have to find other people who have also been down the same road with the mud tires or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Which they're really loud, right? I don't have those on my Jeep. I love my Jeep, but I prefer a smoother ride myself. But it's like you're not even speaking the same language, sort of. It's a miss. So it's a matter of, don't judge yourself and your progress and your stage of healing and your needs, your whatever's tugging at your heart or whatever. Don't judge all that on your particular environment, and expect it or want it, hope for it to mirror back to you, reflect back to you that you're doing well. And because it might send you the wrong signals, the wrong signs, and then you can use that as your gauge of where you are in your healing path, and it can be totally off. Does that make sense? It's sort of like you have to find well, I could just keep going. I'll stop there. I think I've made my point. Just be careful with that. Treat what you've been through sort of like your pearls, even though I like to think of like that Bible verse, don't cast your pearls before the swine. I like to think of that more like your blessings. Don't put that out there for people to meddle in and interfere with and all this stuff, which is true. But also you have to sort of treat this hard stuff you've been through like that too, like your other pearls. Maybe you got your light pearls or your dark pearls or your different kind of stones, whatever it is, right? I think there are black pearls, which are gorgeous, but you have to treat these differently, but also in that same category. Keep it kind of reserved until you can use your discernment and find the right people to connect in that way with, right? You don't have to force yourself to connect with people that aren't going to get it, and then you feel like you're betraying yourself. And you also don't have to deny yourself of that flow wanting to come out. It's just a matter of finding the right people and outlets and things like that. So I hope that this has been helpful in some way for you. This is just where I am in my life right now, in my walk, and I just wanted to share that with you all. I hope you're doing well. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts you feel called to share in the comments, I'd love to read those. Thanks so much for coming along to hear the message. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.